Well, we started by asking if you thought Harry and Meghan should be banned from the King's coronation. Now, it's an interesting one. 1 in 4 of you said yes, they should, but somewhat disagreeing and completely disagreeing, totting up to 39%.
And asked who you believe represents the values of Britain, well over half said Prince William and Catherine over Harry and Meghan, who are only supported by 7%.
Meanwhile, 16% completely disagree with Lady Susan Hussey resigning, but 33% completely agree that she should have resigned.
Certainly it's what she thought she ought to do, and she did. Joining us now is our very own royal reporter, Cameron Walker. Busy times for you, my goodness.
Very busy couple of weeks, yes.
Hasn't it been? Well, it's been busy for months, actually, hasn't it? There's so much royal news around. And I suppose to a certain extent, Harry and Meghan are just sort of feeding that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument, actually. I think it's very easy for them, perhaps, as some people would see it, being in California in their multi-million-dollar mansion in Montecito, doing these documentaries with Netflix. It's reportedly a $100 million contract. Of course, Meghan's Archetypes podcast on Spotify this week won a People's Choice Award as well.
Did it?
Yeah, it did, in the United States. So I think many people are seeing their lives as idyllic and pretty comfortable compared to most people, whereas obviously here in the UK, particularly in a cost of living crisis when people are having to choose between putting food on the table or heating, it's not going down too well, I would argue.
But it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, looking at the polls, I think, paint a bit of a mixed bag in how people are reacting to all of this. But what it does seem to say is Harry and Meghan are out of favour with the British people. I mean, that comes as no surprise, but it's going to get worse after all of this, isn't it?
I think perhaps it will get worse. I think it's easy to draw the comparisons between the Prince and Princess of Wales and Harry and Meghan. We saw that the vast majority of people in the United Kingdom believe that Will and Kate represent the values of Britain compared to Harry and Meghan. But just looking at Earthshot, for example, last week, I was in Boston with the Prince and Princess of Wales. They are using their platform to talk about the environment, to talk about early childhood development, youth homelessness, all these causes which they are passionate about and want to genuinely make a difference for. Whereas, on the other hand, you've got Harry and Meghan, who seem to be making the same complaints that they were doing 18 months ago on Oprah about alleged racism, about the way they were treated, allegedly treated, when they were working members of the royal family. And it's kind of an argument of me, or versus, charity work.
Yeah. I tell you what, Earthshot was brilliant, wasn't it? I watched the entire programme, I recorded it and watched it. It's available on the iPlayer, by the way. I really do recommend it. It's absolutely brilliant work being done.
It was inspiring, and I think what Prince William does well is he doesn't have this doom and gloom rhetoric when it comes to climate change. It's very much about being optimistic and the fact that we can make a difference if we want to. It's all inspired by JFK's moonshots, but trying to put a man on the moon in the 1960s. It's the same idea, trying to repair the planet. And unfortunately, because of this Harry and Meghan documentary and Netflix, of course, the trailer overshadowed part of the Boston trip. We're talking about that rather than Earthshot and the work that the royal family does.